Good evening, everyone. We are shifting it by 1 hour. So you will have test from 4:30 to 5:30, and from 5:30 to 7:30. I mean, around that time we will have discussion, so that it does not get quite late. And so the test will be in the different classroom in the same building. Okay, let me just tell you the hall number 5. Okay, hall number 5 is on which floor? Second floor. Hall number 5 is on the second floor. So there you will write your test, and hall number 4 is this only. So here you will have discussion. Okay, I will again repeat. Hall number 5. You come at hall number 5 at 4:30, and you write your test there 4:30 to 5:30, and then you come to this room, and then you will start the discussion. Okay. So we are shifting everything by 1 hour. Online वालों समझ में आ गया? From tomorrow onwards, we will have the discussion at 5:30, around 5:30, not at 6:30. Okay. Okay. So today I gave you 2 quotation-based questions. Okay, and let us just discuss how many questions you answered today. 6 questions, 6 and more than 6, 7, more than 7. Nice. 8 question. Oh, nice. So, okay. 7. Okay. Questions for 8 actually, And in June batch, one student asked me, sir, where is the 8th question? I could not find it. So students are very innocent at times. Okay. So those who will watch these things in the recorded fashion, I will encourage you that don't just attend the test discussion directly. Please write the test and then attend the discussion. Okay, one of you asked me yesterday, that's why can I directly attend the discussion? Okay, it will not help you. Yes, it is like that you want to lose weight, but you don't want to focus on diet, You just want to lose weight by dreaming. So only that will not help. You have to focus on diet also. Okay, so this is very essential part of your course. You must write it, and but for the PDF you sent on the group only had 7 questions. Kanak, you are innocent. Please watch it again. Did it have 7 questions only, the PDF? Please see the first question again. Okay. So I will encourage you that you don't watch it directly. No, it will not help you that way. Please write it first, and then it will help you. Okay. So today I gave you 2 quotation-based questions. So today we will discuss that how we should go about quotation-based question. Okay. And since you have written something on that, you will grasp it much more easily. That's what I hope. And probably tomorrow I will give you entire paper as quotation-based question. Okay. So that you can practice that also. Tomorrow's paper will have all the questions as quotation-based questions, and today we'll discussing that how to attempt the quotation-based question. Yes. So let us just discuss that first, and then we will discuss the other things. Okay. So the question it says, what does each of the following quotations convey to you in the present context? So basically, the UPSC will ask that what does the quotation means to you in the present context. So how we can go about the introduction in such cases. Introduction, if you are aware about the author, if you know the author, the person, if you know the person, you can briefly mention 1 or 2 keywords about the author, keywords, not the entire sentence. Okay, I will just explain that in the subsequent question. Probably you can mention something about the author, what is his area of expertise, what is the historical context. For example, Mahatma Gandhi, our father of the nation, speaks about that, something like that. So that is how you can address that person, the author. And also you can then paraphrase the meaning of the quotation in your own words, so that you can make it amply clear to the examiner that this is what you understand by the meaning of the quotation. Understood? So that is what you can do. Simply you can state the core message of the quotation in your own words, and alternatively, you can also the value promise. The basically, just like in case study, when you are about to make decision, you tell the examiner in introduction at times that this is the premise of the decision making that you will be following to make the decision. Similarly, here also you can also talk about the value promise, that this quotation talks about, or also talks about the highlights the importance of this and this values. Okay, so that is the way of introduction in quotation based question. You either start with the core message in your own words, or you start with the values, the value premises that is there, the underlying values that are there. We'll discuss both the things in both these quotations, okay, that how we can do that. So that is what quotation is all about. Then the question is usually what does it mean to you in the present context. So when you are asked that, then you can simply explain and elaborate on that. So here your focus should be on analysis, here your focus should be on analysis. And when you are analyzing thing, and perhaps you should try to bring in various theorists that are there, utilitarianism, teleology, deontology, virtue approach, and other keywords, other approach, justice, fairness, integrity, So the philosophical concepts, philosopher king of the Plato, something like that, karma, theory of karma, everything. So philosophical concept and the ethical theories, a blend of that. You should try to invoke that in your answer, I'm not saying that you will be able to apply everything in every single quotation. It will not be possible, but at least if you are able to apply, 3, 4, 5 thinkers and philosophers, then it is more than enough. Okay, so that is what my expectation is, that at least you should be able to apply some of it while you are writing the answer. Also, when the question says what does it mean to you in the present context, then you can also have personal reflection, on the quotation, that what does the quotation means to you in the present context, basically at the role of individual, at family level, what does it mean to you career wise, relationships, then friendship, basically a private relationship. At individual level, what does the quotation mean to you? Does it have any relevance from that perspective? That is also you can see. Then relevance for the civil services, governance, multilateral governance, UNSC, UN, IMF, World Bank, something like that. And from the bureaucratic perspective, governance perspective, that also you can think. Then private institutions, from corporate perspective, NGO perspective, that also you can think. Then societal perspective, what is the relevance in the context of entire society? The Indian society, global society, what is the relevance? And then think for the problems that you can solve by the meaning of the quotation, because essentially when it is asking you what is the relevance of that quotation in the present context, the reality of that relevance is that it must be relevant in the today's problem. So how it can solve today's problem, the problem that you are facing on a day-to-day basis. So that is another reflection that you can have. Think for the various problems that you can, for example, the quotation is, let's say, unexamined life is not worth living. Then you can perhaps talk about rising consumerism, rising individualism, that people are driven by corruption or the ends only, not focusing on means. So basically, those are the problems that are existing in our society because people are not examining their life, that what they actually want, what they actually want to achieve in their life. So basically, that is how it will solve today's problem. Then good of the individual is contained in the good of the all. Suppose that is the quotation. Then how it will help you in the present day context in terms of solving the day-to-day problem. How it will help you. So basically here you should think from the perspective of solving the problems, because you see this quotation, to whom you will give this quotation. That good of individual is contained in the good of all. To whom you will give this quotation? Someone who is very much individualistic in nature, right? Who is always thinking about himself and herself only. To that person you will be always telling that, see, your good lies in the collective good. You should not think that singularly, that individualistically. You should understand that your good actually, is part of the collective good only. That is why you should go beyond, being individualistic in nature. And that is when, and what is the behavior of this person? This person who is individualistic in nature, in the real life, how he will behave? So he will be very much, self-centered in a way that he will not take care about his family responsibility. He will not be taking care of his parents, perhaps his wife, perhaps his children. He will be thinking all about himself. He will not have work-life balance, for example. He will not be taking care of elderly parents, Then maybe he is too much materialistic in a way that he is not taking care of the environment also. He is just littering everything around, thinking that cleanliness is the responsibility of the government. So the point I'm making is that you think of that person, basically the problems that you can solve by the core message of the quotation. And basically that will make that quotation relevant in the today's context, because that message will help solve so many problems. So that is what you should also think. And then how that meaning can be applied in real life, basically how you can inculcate that in real life, that thinking. It can be part of conclusion also, that is. And then is there any potential counter argument, because usually the statement comes from the various philosophers, and philosophers, we want to criticize them. There is more or less at times criticism. Just make sure that you are not criticizing something that is very much positive in a way. You are just adding unnecessary critical perspective even though it is not desired. Okay, so that is what you should hope for. I mean that is what you should take care of when you are putting critical perspective. But you should always have this belief that no, we should not accept everything on the face value. For example, in this question, the good of the individual is contained in the good of all. The critical perspective will ask you about what? Which ethical concept? Very good, very nice. Ethical egoism. That the self-interest is also very much important, and individual rights should not be subordinated. I mean, individuals should not be harassed. Their individual rights should not be taken in the name of collective good. So that it promotes autocracy and everything. Very good, very nice. Okay, so the point is this: the critical perspective you should always have when you are dealing with the philosophical quotation. So basically, overall, if I can just say that you should have various lenses to look at the quotation. Personal reflections from the perspective of career, family, relationships, friendship, etc. Bureaucratic perspective, government perspective, societal perspective. The problems that you are able to solve in today's era, and what is the core message and how it can solve the problem, that will draw the relevance. And how you can inculcate that message in today's life. For example, unexamined life is not worth living. So basically you would want people to examine. So how will you encourage examination in society? So perhaps in conclusion you can talk about that there is need for following intellectual integrity, there is need for more debate and discussion, there is need for and tolerance for diverse views. So perhaps that is what you would like to write in the conclusion, so that you can promote examination of the ideas. Understood? समझ में आ रहा है आपको? Okay, so that will be part of conclusion. Understood? So apart from that, a critical perspective with respect to the entire quotation, if any critical perspective is there. One thing is the relevance. The question is the relevance. So relevance, either you can include that in these arguments and through examples, because if you are giving current example, then you are talking about relevance only. Or you can make a separate heading and then say relevance in today's time, and then you can highlight the relevance. That is up to your choice, how you are approaching the question. Either you can make a separate subheading, relevance in the today's time, and then you can highlight the problems and everything, how it is relevant. Or you can use those examples while writing this argument. Understood or not? Another thing that you should keep in mind is that this various level, individual level, family level, societal level, you should not write that mechanically. Okay, that everyone is writing that only in every question, individual, family, everything. You have to use that very judiciously. Okay, so you need to categorize the question with respect to heading and subheading, and then you maybe think from that perspective, but write in a way that you are addressing that subheading. Understood? Not everywhere you can use that. Just like you cannot use pastel everywhere. You have to use them very specifically where question is very broad, where you do not have any other recourse to, where you do not have any other subdimensions. Then perhaps you can use this approach, the various levels. Understood? Any part that you did not understand? Any part? Online walo? Do we give one page space to one quote as a total question has a... No. 2 pages are there. 2 pages are there, and you try to fill both the pages as far as possible. In conclusion, either you can talk about the way forward in a way that how you can inculcate the core message of society in the upbringing. For example, unexamined life is not worth living. Then the tolerance, importance of tolerance, critical questioning, the how family can promote open debate and discussion, how schools and government should promote liberty. So that should be part of the core message in the conclusion. Or you can talk about various great lines are there. Viksit Bharat, Amrit Kal. So many golden words are there. So you can talk about that. Conclusion can be about the visionary perspective, that how things will improve if we can imbibe the meaning of that quotation in our life. So basically that is very far looking visionary perspective that you want to highlight while you are writing the conclusion. Understood? Everyone? Online walo, any doubt? Can be another quote if it is similar? Yes, in conclusion you can use another quote. In introduction, I would request you that you should not start your answer with another quote, because see, the examiner has given you one quote and you are throwing another quote at him. ये समझ के दिखाओ, ठीक है? So it does not look good. No, it does not look good. So basically you first answer his quotation and then maybe in conclusion or in between you can talk about your quotation. How to include individual level different subheading, that I will show you, don't worry. हाँ जी, यहाँ पे कोई डाउट था जी? अभी क्वेश्चन पे आ रहे हैं दीदी, परेशान क्यों हो रही हो? अभी आ रहे हैं, अभी broadly I am discussing. Broadly, that if you get stuck, that is how you should think. These are different areas to explore. I mean, when you are reading the question, there is something that will be coming from your heart. But if you are stuck, if you're not getting the argument, if you want to enhance the dimension, that is what you should look for. Think for philosophical concepts, theories, personal life, corporate life, society, international relations. You know, that is what corporate governance, that is what you should think. And that is how you will generate depth and diversity in your answer. So this is about horizontal diversity and this is about vertical diversity. Like think for the problems, solutions, that is the vertical diversity. Understood? That depend upon the meaning of the quotation.
Like the quotation, why the unexamined life is not worth living, then explaining it, or the role of examined life.
Both you can include. It is called contrasting approach, that I will also tell you. That he asked a very good, Dr. Saab, you know, for a change had asked a very good question. You know, that unexamined life is not worth living. So how much we should focus on the negative aspect, that how unexamination of life is making the life unworthy of living, or the positive aspect, that how examination will make it worthwhile. So I would say go with the flow of the question. Most of the time you focus on the negative part, but 20-25% you focus on the positive part, you know, the case studies. So that is called contrasting approach. You are telling the examiner that you just don't know the negative side of it, but you have very good positive case study to think that that is how we should go ahead. Now you are thinking in the right sense. Yes. Okay. Any other thing? Any other doubt? Any other doubt? No? Okay. I was worried last night, you know, looking at your gloomy faces. You know, they do not let me sleep at times. Okay, I was, that is why I posted that message. You know, same face I'm looking at now. No changes are there. क्यों भाई ऐसा क्यों हो रहा है डॉक्टर साहब? Why this is happening? धीरे धीरे. Okay. I also hope धीरे धीरे. Okay, कुछ फर्क तो पड़ेगा देखो तुम. You know, see, actual competition is not that great. That I'm telling you from the experience. Only very few people are committed because it is not easy. Preparing for this examination is not entertainment. I mean, it would not be pleasurable. That मजा नहीं आ रहा है. अरे भाई कोई मुजरा करने के लिए यहाँ थोड़ा बैठा है ना कि मजा नहीं आ रहा है कि आपको entertain करना है, stand up चल रहा है यहाँ पे. You know, understood? सर मजा नहीं आ रहा पढ़ने में. अरे भाई मजे की बात होती है हर कोई नहीं कर लेता. You know, everyone would have become the IAS if, you know, becoming IAS, I mean, it was so easy and the journey was so enjoyable. Of course, it requires hell lot of sacrifice. You know, abhi thanda aa gayi hai na, the mausam is very cozy, weather is very cozy, that you want to perhaps sleep in the morning. Then it requires lot of sacrifice, that you are getting up from the bed and you are not continuing your dreams of Lavasana. Okay, and you are actually putting in hard work to go there physically. Okay, so it requires a lot of sacrifice actually, and that is not easy, you know. And to become a topper, you need to do it consistently. You know, the same thing you need to do it again and again and again and again, and that is not actually romantic. You know, something बहुत अच्छा होगा. No, it comes with a lot of pain. Talk about every cricketer. Any cricketer, what we see is the bright side of it. You know, they are getting so much of fame and everything. You don't see the, you know, things that go behind that, their regime. You know, they are focusing on lot many things, not eating, diet, everything, practice, you know, giving up on so many engagements. So it requires a lot of sacrifice on their part as well. Surya Kumar Yadav, you know, he said that he had practiced for that catch in the final over 150 times in the net practice. 150 times. Can you imagine? And for us, it was like maybe it was a fluke. It was not a fluke, you know, because he has practiced that And imagine doing same thing, same mundane thing again and again. So that is what is about this preparation. It is not that enjoyable. So choice is yours. आगे चलें तो कम से कम यार मुस्कुरा तो, मेरा मन था वो लिखने का, बट मैंने कहा बच्चे और डिप्रेस हो जाएंगे, ठीक है, यहाँ पे कम से कम मुस्कुराया करो भाई, तुमको देख के मैं डिप्रेस हो जाऊंगा, मेरा तलाक हो जाएगा, मैं घर पे जाता हूँ रात में, ठीक है, ऐसा लगता है कि मैं पता नहीं किससे लट हो जाके आ रहा हूँ यहाँ पे। क्या चाहते हो तुम लोग? ए भाई देखो इनका कुछ, अब तो आपका मोए मोए मोमेंट नहीं होने दिया, 5 दिन की छुट्टी भी दे दी आपको, बताओ हैं? फिर देखो वही माहौल है। शर्म पैदा ही ऐसे हुए हैं, आप अपने ऊपर ब्लेम मत लो है। और पैदा सही हुए थे, यूपीएससी ने ऐसा बना दिया है, फिलोसफिकल हो जाओ थोड़े से। Rashidi, please wait, I will explain that through answer only. Done? Okay. Okay, so now look at this question. Okay, do not hate anybody, because that hatred that comes out from you must in the long run come back to you. If you love, that love will come back to you. You may not agree with that. One-sided love is there, yes. Completing the circle, Swami Vivekananda. So basically what he is saying is that everything that you are doing have consequences and you will face those consequences. Yes, that is what he is saying. So as we discussed that initially in the introduction, either you can mention something, 1 or 2 keywords about the author, or you can talk about the core ideas, paraphrasing the core ideas, or you can talk about the value premises. So here, Swami Vivekananda, the great spiritual leader, the keywords, Mahatma Gandhi, the father of nation, something like that, the great political fighter, so Jawaharlal Nehru, something like that, urges individuals to refrain from harboring hatred and hatred and instead cultivate love, emphasizing the idea. Basically, it is about paraphrasing everything that you have understood as part of the core message. Okay, so this is what we have employed to explain to you that is what you can use when you are explaining the quotation, in your own words. So that can be a good introduction. And after that, you just look at the philosophical concepts. That basically this concept resembles a lot with the karma. That whatever you do, you will reap. You will reap the same thing, whatever you sow. So basically, action, whether good or bad, have consequences. So the karma perspective you can invoke here. So that is how we are blending both the part. That the karma perspective is telling about the same thing, that you will reap what you are sowing, at this point of time. Similarly, the consequences, they are telling you the same thing, that one should consider the consequences before one is indulging in any action. That is what teleological perspective is telling you. For example, you talk about hatred. If you are harboring hatred towards people, it will only lead to the conflicts and instability in the society, and you will have personal suffering also, because mentally you will not be at your ease, and you can give the example of Hitler, how Hitler eventually died by suicide only, So communal rights also you can talk about that. If you are harboring hatred, ultimately you will get that in return, So that is what utilitarian perspective is also telling you, that when you are indulging in some action, you should see the consequence of that. So you cannot perhaps hope that you will get great rewards by harboring hatred against anyone. That is what this is saying. On the other hand, the contrasting approach that you are discussing, on the other hand, if we harbor, let's say, love and compassion, then we will get that back only, because there will be more harmony in the society, there will be cooperation, it will be beneficial for you also in the long run in terms of personal well-being. Because if I'm someone who is harboring hatred, always hatred, then I will not be at the mental peace. It will be very much disturbing for me. On the other hand, if I am very much positive about the people, I love them, compassion is there, then mental comfort will be there. Mentally, I will be sound. It is good for my own personal well-being. So that is the perspective, that what goes around comes around. So that from utilitarian perspective, you can talk about that. If you are doing that, ultimately that is how it will get back to you. Understood? So that is the perspective. Then you talk about the character perspective, the virtue perspective, that hatred as a vice, it can actually corrode your character, because if you are doing that on a consistent basis, it will corrode your character. You can give the example of Akbar and Aurangzeb here, for example, their virtue-based approach, because that is what their consistent pattern of behavior was. Akbar had hatred and prejudice towards certain community, Aurangzeb. Aurangzeb had hatred and prejudice towards certain communities, on the other hand, Akbar believed in tolerance, and look how it manifested in terms of in terms of the characteristic of these rulers. The empire was known for the tolerance, and other empire, slowly disintegrated because of the internal tension that was there. So basically, how it can corrode one's character. So basically, that is what Vivekananda ji also saying, that if you love, then you will be lovable also, you will get love also. Basically, that is what he is saying. Then Kant, just like principle of reciprocity. Of course, you would not like other people to treat the way, you would like other people to treat the way you would like to be treated. So basically the same principle of reciprocity. So if you are hating someone, then be ready to be, hated by someone. That is what he's saying, So treat others as you would like to be treated. And here you can definitely talk about the case study. How many of you quoted the case study of Nelson Mandela or Buddha here? Okay, very nice. कितने लोगों ने एक भी नहीं करा? हाँ, शाबाश, हाथ खड़ा करो. कितने लोगों ने एक भी पॉजिटिव केस स्टडी नहीं दी? आपने नहीं दिया? क्यों? कैसे काम चलेगा? You are not able to write. Okay. So basically, when you are writing about such virtues, hatred, we have discussed that whenever you are writing on forgiveness, love, compassion, always invoke this positive case study. Nelson Mandela, how he forged an entire nation despite having the scar of racism. Historical scar of racism. It is a great task actually. Can you imagine? Without retaliation, he was able to forge an entire nation on the basis of solidarity and compassion. ये अब आसर है, बताओ कितनी देर पहले हड़प्पा के टाइम पे मैंने वो बात कही थी. प्रोसेसर, कौन सा प्रोसेस? i3, Core2Duo, हैं? क्या बोल रहे हैं? नोकिया वाला है. ओके, ठीक है. So the thing is this, that positive case study you must quote. So when you are talking about that, you must tell the reader that that these things is not just theoretical, they have actually worked, and that is how they have created wonder. Understood? And now you can make a separate heading in terms of relevance. Individual level, it will help you in terms of not harboring prejudice, discrimination. Family level, family feuds that are there because of hatred, one harbor against each other. Envy, jealousy, it is there, and because of that, family feuds are there. Honor killings are a reflection of that. At societal level, you talk about communalism, linguistic, regional chauvinism, and everything. Because of that, so many problems are there. At national level, unending conflicts and wars that are there. Private institutions, so many things. So basically, at different level, you can talk about that how this quotation is relevant in a way that, we can solve all these problems if we simply follow the meaning of this quotation. Okay, and that is how you can diversify your perspective. And conclusion, broadly you can talk about that how, the essence of this quotation is basically social capital. That all of us should have this sense of solidarity. We should have this network of relationships, that all of us belong to each other. And that is why love, should be part of the core human value. We should have that humanity. So that is what you can write, the core of human values, the core of social capital. How many of you quoted at least human values or social capital in the conclusion? Brilliant, brilliant. Very nice, very nice. So basically, now you are getting at the right keywords, in conclusion, because that is the essence of this question. That is solidarity, network of relationship, that is nothing but social capital. Or in preamble, fraternity also you can quote, that our preamble asks us to be, the fraternity of, we are making a fraternity. So that common brotherhoodness also you can quote, that our constitutional morality talks about. So that also you can quote definitely in the conclusion. So basically that is how you can answer this question. Can you see we try to include philosophical perspective and different perspective here. Can you see we try to include the relevance just like we discussed, and also in conclusion we talked about in a way that we can achieve what, we can make a society based on social capital, human values, if we simply follow the message of Swami Vivekananda ji. Understood? Very good, Anjali. Yeah. Any doubt?
Can you read how to inculcate these values?
Here only, yes. But not allow, that much space may not be there. So in part of conclusion you can talk about. Tata Group case study you definitely can invoke. That is from perspective of private organization. So you can definitely write that. Here also you can write that. Here also you can write that. Definitely. That's a very good case study of this. Shivam, you can do that in introduction. That is fine. Can you scroll down? Okay. Any other doubt? Online वालों, any other doubt? Quotation, introduction, conclusion. You can definitely end with the quote. See, but the reason is because it will be very, very difficult to find very specific quote that align with the meaning of quote. And that is why mostly you will be misusing the quote only. Quotations, they look great in conclusion because they provide a very broader perspective at times. So that is what you should do. Globalization and clash of culture, I need to see in what context you have written. But universal brotherhood, definitely you can mention. That is what Kutum is all about. I did not get you. That I mean, you may go in some part of that, in some detail of that, because you may not be knowing about all the authors. So if you know it, then there are definitely 1 or 2 points you can include about Vedanta philosophy. Then how Swami Vivekananda is saying that if you believe in that philosophy, then it can make you a better Hindu or a better Muslim, by serving to the mankind. Then you have the core value of humanity at heart. So that is what you can write. That is what he is also saying.
So if body, can we write 2 subparts in which we should...
Yeah, you can write 2 subparts.
To flow diagram like...
To show diagram? To flow diagram.
Create at individual level, which will...
Diagrams you can write. See, diagrams only if they are adding value to your answer, then you can draw them. Yes.
That will become...
That depends how you have drawn the diagram. I mean, it should not require more explanation to explain the diagram. There is no point in drawing the diagram then. Yes. और मिले चाहे नहीं मिले वो बोल रहा हूँ कंक्लूजन में लगाना है, ठीक है, इंट्रोडक्शन में अवॉइड करना है, इसलिए क्योंकि कोटेशन ही आप आंसर कर रहे हो, आप एक कोटेशन और मार रहे हो उसके मुंह पे, ले इसको समझ के दिखा, तो डज नॉट लुक गुड. In a way, reflect. I mean, it is the meaning, relevance, that perhaps it is asking you that the justice system should move more towards rehabilitation than retribution. So that is, it is relevant. That is solving that problem, and that is why now we are focused from Indian Penal Code to Bharatiya Nyaya Sanstha. The focus from penalty to the complete justice. So that is what you can mention here. Yes, the focus is from retribution to the complete justice. So yes, Ji. Love. You can do that. You can do that. Yes. You can do that. You can do that. Done. लिख लिया, आप नोट कर लीजिए इसको जी. फर्स्ट लॉ ऑफ थर्मोडायनामिक. हाँ, इंटरेस्टिंग. बताइए क्या लिखेंगे. आपको किसी को समझ में आया? अब देखो, इनको भी समझ में नहीं आ रहा. बताओ, ऐसे कॉम्प्लेक्स स्टेटमेंट कैसे दे रहे हो आप? क्या बोल रहे हैं? न्यूटन थर्ड लॉ. लिख लो भाई, लिख लो, मुझे बताना नंबर आए जो कि कितना अच्छा लग रहा है. यू कैन राइट दैट. देयर इज, आई मीन, दैट लॉ इज वेरी फेमस एक्चुअली, बट व्हाट ही इज सेइंग, एनर्जी वाला, आई डोंट नो विच लॉ इज टॉकिंग अबाउट. थर्मोडायनामिक लॉ. It is more detailed. Newton third law everyone knows, so perhaps that you can write. Newton third law you can write. जी.
Like you say, individual level. इसमें हम ऐसे 2 एग्जाम्पल लिख सकते हैं कि एक लॉ.
2 एग्जाम्पल मतलब 1-2 बार लिख दोगे चल जाएगा, पर हर किसी में लिखोगे तो लेवल कम हो जाएंगे, टाइम ही नहीं है इतना. हाँ, तो आप एक जगह पे कर देंगे, पर हर किसी में नहीं कर पाएंगे ना, आपके पास स्पेस ही नहीं होगा. कैसे करेंगे आप एक्चुअल में आंसर लिखिए, आपको पता लगेगा कि आपके पास स्पेस नहीं है, उतना स्पेस ही नहीं है लिखने को. अंडरस्टूड? नोट वोट कर लो भाई इसको. हाँ, बिल्कुल नहीं है. आप जबरदस्ती घुसा रहे हो उसको इसमें, ठीक है? डन ऑनलाइन वालों, डन? अगला क्वेश्चन चलें? यस, ओके. So we can easily forgive a child. We can easily forgive a child who is afraid of the dark. The real tragedy of life is when men are afraid of the light. Those who have not come to the class today, this quote is for them. If they are watching it later, probably 10 days, 15 days after, this quote is for you. Okay. So we can easily forgive a child who is afraid of the dark. The real tragedy of the life is when men are afraid of the light. So what does this mean, quotation? You know, that as a, perhaps you can forgive a child if someone is, fearful of dark, but you cannot forgive adult. So what is making all the difference? What is making all the difference? Arey bhai, how you are differentiating between child and a man? That is what question is saying. Because the man can have judgment. Yes, man can have judgment. He's an adult man, and child may not be able to grapple with the entire knowledge or entire concept. So that is why we can perhaps forgive a child, because the child lacks understanding, he lacks experience and everything. But we cannot forgive man. Just like you will not forgive yourself. Okay, so let us look at the introduction. Plato, a great Greek philosopher, has emphasized on knowledge and wisdom. It highlights the importance of intellectual integrity. Here I am using the keywords, the value premise of the entire quotation. It highlights the importance of intellectual integrity, critical thinking, and dangers of ignorance. Okay, so here I am not paraphrasing the meaning per se, but here I am talking about the core value. The core values that are at the heart of this quotation. That this quotation highlights the importance of these and these values. Understood? So I've just given you both the examples where I've discussed the core message in my own words, and also the keywords, that this quotation highlights the importance of these and these values. Understood? And these are the values that are there: dangers of ignorance, intellectual integrity, critical thinking. Yes, it is there. So the first part will always be that why we can easily forgive a child. So that you can address in perhaps 2 line or 3 line only. You need not elaborate more on that. Yes, that simply because he lacks the experience and understanding, and naturally the fear of unknown is there. For the child, the fear of unknown is there. The real thing is that why this is a tragedy for man. This should be your heading. Your heading, as far as possible, should correspond to the question. If one can simply glance through the heading, then he should be able to understand that you are answering the question only. Okay, so suppose I don't read this. So maybe I am looking at the heading only. Why easily forgive a child? Then that is coming directly from the question only. Why this is a tragedy for man? Of course, for man also you have to write. I have avoided that. Okay, so that also you have to write. So maybe just by looking at the subheading, I am very much clear which part of the question I am answering. Understood? Understood or not? So why this is a tragedy? So you talk about virtue ethics, that is talking about that how unexamined life is not worth living, that how you will be wasting a time. So real tragedy of the man is, why it is a tragedy? It is a tragedy because you will not be able to attain the human potential. You will be living a life in an animalistic fashion. That is what we have discussed. So you talk about a drug addict, if he is not examining, he just does not want to listen to the outside world. He just does not want to open his eyes at what he is doing is absolutely wrong with himself, and that is why it is a tragedy, because he is wasting his life, So that is what you can write, that virtue ethics I have included like that, but what you can write is that why this is a tragedy, because humans will not be able to live as per their potential. As Socrates said, that an unexamined life is not worth living as per virtue approach. That is how you need to write. This should not be your heading. Ideally, heading should be that. The line should be that I just discussed. Similarly, you talk about Kant. Now when men are afraid of dark, it is not from the individualistic perspective that I am afraid of the dark from receiving the information. It may be because of the fear of accountability also, that various officers, if they are denying information, for example, you have sought some RTI from me, I am PIO, and I am denying some information to you, then it is me who is afraid of the dark. Okay, because I don't want more information to come. Understood? So basically then I am not treating humans as a means. I am not respecting your rationality, because I am lying to you. I am manipulating you by giving you frivolous answer and everything, and that is what the problem is, that I'm not treating you with the dignity, I'm not believing in your rationality. And then ultimately it is a tragedy, because fundamentally if you are not striving towards excellence, then it is against your fundamental duty, and that is why you must go beyond, you should look for the light in your life, you should try to remove darkness from your life, and that is your fundamental duty. So that is more and more perspective at societal level. Just imagine what bad will happen. Just imagine, forget about this content as of now, just imagine what bad will happen if people start willfully being ignorant. What bad will happen? Families, even if they know that if they are getting their papers, by paying for it, then how they are corrupting the youth, how they are corrupting their own sons and daughters, So even if when they are doing that, it will break down of the family system, because family is failing in inculcating the right set of value, and that is the failure of the society. If society collectively, does not believe in anything, and it is just breaking the law because it is afraid of seeing the light, then the law will not be getting implemented in the right spirit. Dowry, for example, that we are just afraid of the light, we are just continuing with the patriarchy is another example of that, then orthodoxy. Orthodoxy, we want to continue to believe in the orthodoxy, in all these prejudices, because we don't want to open up to the new challenges, and we want to live a life that is like frog in the well only. So orthodoxy, attitude, prejudices, all that will be there if we are not opening ourselves to the new information, and we will be spreading misinformation, fake news only. We will be victim of propaganda only, because we are not willing to subject ourselves to the new information, and ultimately it will lead to the breakdown of the fundamental tenet of the governance, breakdown of social contract will be there, because government will not be safeguarding the liberty, because from government perspective I am looking at it, that government does not want to see the light. Basically government wants darkness, government wants opaqueness, and what will happen? It will deny the information to the people. What will happen? It will make the governance, non-participative, closed system approach it will follow, and that is how it will be breakdown of the social contract, so that is what will happen. The fundamental tenet of the democracy and social contract will not be followed if you just simply apply that at the governance level, because you are not empowering people, you are believing in top-down model of implementation, you are believing in that you are having a paternalistic approach in a way that you are not empowering the citizens. So that is what, and it will be breaking the trust of the people, because lawmakers will be becoming the lawbreakers. Even though we are having criminalization of politics, still people are not, the politicians are not framing law against it in a way, all those things. So basically, that is how our trust in politicians are also getting reduced. And if the trust is reduced, then so many problems are there. The governance fundamental, they are getting shaken. Understood? Then right without responsibility is another example of that. People who are just simply, the money, the misuse of money, bill, disqualification, everything, speaker powers. So that is basically that they are afraid of the light. Even though they know what they are doing is wrong, still they are doing the wrong. And why this is a tragedy? This is a tragedy because it will be leading to the breakdown of the democracy, because speaker is a very important post. If suppose all the political party believes that a speaker, is not even allowing them the due time to speak, then what will happen? Most of the MPs, they were, I think, suspended for quite some time. It was a record. So they are not exactly the democratic traditions to be proud of, and that is what will be the impact of the officers if they are afraid of light. Understood or not? You take the example of judiciary. If suppose judiciary closes their eyes, what will happen? So more problems will be there. Understood? So that is what you need to write here. Talk about USA, for example. USA is withdrawing from the climate deal because willfully it wants to be ignorant about the climate change. It is saying climate change is a hoax. Then it is a problem that is there. Understood? And that is why it is a real tragedy, because even the people who are in the position of making things different, making some change at the governance level, even if they are not doing the right thing, then how will things improve? Because they are most capable in terms of funds and technology, and even if that nation is also not coming forward to fight climate change, then God help us. Understood? So that is what you need to write here, that how it will lead to the breakdown of the multilateral institutions and the failure and the collective responsibility and everything. Understood? So that is what, so you see, from the different governance level we have discussed, at societal level we have discussed, at individual level we have discussed, not necessarily we have used the same thing. Understood? And then ultimately it is talking about, it is a powerful message. What is the key takeaway for the reader? That encourages us to embrace the knowledge and truth, and that we can involve by incorporating Socratic method of questioning in our life, by being more aware about the society and their needs, and by encouraging debate, discussions, online forums for media, so that we can have more knowledge, so that we can remove the darkness in our life by getting access to more and more knowledge. Understood? So that is more reform oriented. You are giving actually some practical tools to the reader as to how he can, remove darkness from his life. Understood? Yoga you are talking about, the fundamental duty. Fellow to strive for the excellence, because it is your duty to ensure your well-being. Understood? So that is what, when you are answering the quotation-based question, your objective should be to diversify the linkages. Your objective should be to bring, many thinkers. Objective should be to have practical relevance, suggest way forward, give some important keywords that can relate to the quotation, something like that. Understood? One important aspect is you should not over dump thinkers, because then your answer will be mechanical. Okay, that is important caution that is there. Although I have included so many thinkers so as to make you understand things. I will give you an example. Suppose, in UPSC you are interview you are sitting, and the chairman asks you that poverty anywhere is threat to justice everywhere. If he asks you, what does this quotation means to you in present context, and you start answering, as per Kant this means this, as per Socrates this means this, as per this thinker this means this, कैसा है आपका आंसर? हाउ इज योर आंसर? अरे बोलने तो दो महाराज, इंटरप्शन करने का मना कर रखा है, कि समझ में नहीं आ रहा है जब मैं बोल रहा हूं, आप इंटरप्ट मत करा करो यार. सो हाउ इज दिस आंसर? हाउ इज दिस आंसर? This answer is bad actually, because it is not telling the examiner or the question, it is not telling anything about your perspective. So that is why you must not overly rely on the borrowed wisdom. You must not overdo the thinkers. You must have your own perspective. This is your own perspective. You must include that. Of course, you should use thinker, because that also shows your wisdom, your application, but not overdo it. That in every question you are just dumping, thinkers only. Maybe 2, 3, 4 will be fine. Understood? Understood or not? Maybe 2 you can use here, 2 you can use in solution, something like that. Understood? So don't overuse thinker, because it will be like borrowed wisdom and it does not appeal anyone. अब पूछिए सर. किसका? तो मैंने तो पूछा नहीं ना क्वेश्चन आपसे, मैं खुद इलस्ट्रेशन दे रहा था आपको कि सपोज यू आंसर लाइक दैट देन व्हाट विल हैपन. मैंने तो क्वेश्चन तो पूछा नहीं किसी से. ओके, यू प्लीज नोट इट. The air pollution is a great example of that. That is a real tragedy. That if the men are afraid of life, then what will happen? We talk about very good example of air pollution. Every year we are witnessing the same thing. Every year this is happening. Perhaps no one is actually caring about. So that is a great example of that. You can definitely write that as a relevance. That is a problem that we can solve if all the men here means the institution which has responsibility for that, and that means judiciary, executive, legislature, citizens, NGO, everyone, every stakeholder. So if we ourselves become oblivious to it, or basically blind to it, then this is a real tragedy and the problem will continue. So that's a great example in this context. Understood? And that is the problem that we can solve if we can just become more aware. Allegory of cave, yes, you can use. Yes.
So can we give more points for the
Can we contradict quote by quoting below of ignorance? How you will what exactly you will write with it? How will you contradict this? जी बताइए.
Can we add more points to the first part of the question, arguing that the quest for truth, like King Siddhartha leaving his kingdom because he was dissatisfied with the darkness?
So that is a positive example you want to talk about. That
Like why?
yes. Probably child में कहाँ से आ जाएंगे वो? बुद्धा तो child थोड़ा ना थे.
The young age था ना जब King Siddhartha
No, not in that context, but in the positive concept that when man truly wants to pursue truth, what they can become. So positive case study context, you can use that example, a very great example. You can use that, but not in the negative sense. This part will not consume too much space because that is not the main demand of the question. You can address that by 2 or 3 lines only, and then you look at the other part of the question. Understood? Yes, killing Galileo example is yes. Yeah, positive part you can always include positive part. That is given, that is given. You can always include positive part. See, during this discussion, my objective is to teach you some part or the other. So maybe my answer will not include everything because I want to emphasize on certain part. Okay, so you can always include positive part and positive case study that what good can happen. Montreal Protocol is another thing when all the nations came together and took bulls by the horn. A great example of that. When they were not blinded, then what great achievement can be done, if we become aware of that. Please note it. All these examples, you can reuse them in another context. So just go through the examples again and again and again and again, and you will find that you will be able to reuse these examples in different contexts. तो ऐसे में तो लिखना भी तो 10 पेज होता है, तो यस लिखना ही पड़ेगा. ऐसे में डिस्कस करेंगे, अभी और भी चीज़ें डिस्कस करनी है. ओके, बट प्रपोर्शन तो कुछ ऐसा ही रखना पड़ेगा. वहाँ भी पहले पार्ट का थोड़ा ना कि 80% पहले पार्ट पे लिख देंगे. देयर ऑल्सो वी नीड टू टेक द प्रपोर्शन इन माइंड. प्रपोर्शन इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट व्हेन वी आर डिस्कसिंग द क्वेश्चन. We don't necessarily have to counter every code. Yes, definitely. Don't necessarily have to. Anything that goes against your basic instinct, your basic logic, common sense, that you should counter. You should not be too critical towards something. Just for the sake of arguing, you are arguing. That should not be the case. Intro should be very short. You cannot have 4 to 5 lines of intro. 3 lines, 3.5, at max 4. Idle length. For 10 marker question. Yes, Gandhi is a great example, Nitish. Yes, you can include him. Yes, Shubham, you can talk about the religious orthodoxy and how that has continued without men are afraid to see the light. Yes, you can definitely talk about that. G. So perhaps you will write that only. Continuation of various inhuman practices. That's what you will. For example, whatever you want to write. जी कौन कोई था यहाँ पे? चाइल्ड लेबर इज ग्रेट एग्जाम्पल ऑफ दैट, क्योंकि चाइल्ड लेबर में हर कोई आंख मूंद के पड़ा हुआ है. दैट इज ग्रेटर एग्जाम्पल. वुमेन ट्रैफिकिंग में तो ऐसा नहीं है ना हर कोई आंख मूंद के पड़ा हुआ है. इन ए वे कि हर कोई एनकरेज थोड़ा ना कर रहा है, वो एक्सेप्टेबल नहीं है. एयर पोल्यूशन हैज बिकम मोर और लेस acceptable in a way that it has not become an issue. Corruption is another example of that. So वो आपको वो उस तरह के एग्जाम्पल आप यूज करिए. दोबारा रिपीट करिए. कैन वी एंड विद सुप्रीम कोर्ट व्हाट? हाँ we can conclude by that. I am facing a problem in understanding a question that will come with practice. Done? Can you move to the next question? How many of you wrote at least 50-60% of that? Very nice. Good. हाँ जी, आप कहाँ हो? अरे कहाँ लिख रहे हो? 50-60% पे हो? What is that example? I'm not aware of that. We'll discuss after the question. मैं अभी समझ में नहीं पा रहा हूँ, ठीक है, आपकी आवाज़ नहीं आ रही है. After the class we can discuss. Shall we move to the next question? Yes? हाँ sir, बिल्कुल जरूरी है. Learn. See, one thing that you should try to learn is that how we can think like that in the examination. All that is the most important learning for you. Okay, if you are able to learn that and apply even 60-70% of that, you will be absolutely fine in the examination. Absolutely fine. चलें आगे. मैं पहले ही बता रहा हूँ, numbering will be here and there, okay? So don't interrupt, okay? But I will discuss every question. So corruption, 7th question, okay? Your favorite topic. Corruption is not just a problem of unethical politicians, but also a reflection of societal attitude toward dishonesty and misuse of power. Critically analyze this statement in the context of India. Okay. How can citizens contribute to a culture of integrity and ethical behavior in politics? So two separate questions are there. In the B part, how can citizens contribute to a culture of integrity? In the A part, basically you have to talk about from different factors with respect to social attitudes toward dishonesty, that how society, is actually encouraging corruption. That is what you need to discuss in the first part. In the second part, you need to give the suggestions. When you are giving the suggestions, you need to give the broadest possible dimension. Don't just talk about from one angle, Understood? So there the dimensions are more important in terms of suggestions. Understood? So basically it is talking about that how society is tolerating, abating and encouraging corruption. How it is tolerating, abating and encouraging corruption. That is what we need to discuss, and in different contexts we need to discuss that. Okay. For example, how you are tolerating corruption. Because you talk about bridge collapses that are there. Has it ever led to the systemic reforms? It has always led to the episodic inquiry of the event, and that too you will not see people accountable for that. You will not see people are held accountable for that. So basically, collectively we are more tolerant toward this. Corruption, for quite some time it has not exactly become the election issue. People are not voting on corruption. Okay, so that is what also you can include, and this that people are simply oblivious of the criminal charges. Every record 46% of the newly elected MPs, they are facing criminal charges. Basically, as if it does not matter to citizen that whether whom they are electing are actually not people who are facing criminal charges, as if their character does not matter to them. Okay, so that is what they are tolerating corruption and dishonesty, and that is how they are contributing towards that. Then their behavior is tolerant, their behavior in the direct indulgence of the corruption, they themselves are actually part of the corruption. Then you look at the broad heading as of now. Then how they are promoting corruption. They're actually promoting corruption, and then whatever they can do, they are not doing that. Like lack of demand side of the reforms, they are not fulfilling their duty, lack of accountability, like that. Other aspect also, because society has various institutions, you can talk about from their perspective as well. So here you can talk about as voters, you are accepting cash for vote, so you are indulging yourself also. Then how you can ask for the accountability, Then as a recipient of government services, you are bribing officials to do away with the fines and everything. As citizens, you yourselves are engaged in unethical and illegal practices like child labor and dowry. Then how you can ask for accountability. So basically, as society, we ourselves are indulging in corruption at different level. We are actually promoting corruption. There we can highlight the role of family, that how and justify means the paper leak case that are there. Role of educational institutions, role of religious leaders, how convictions, how they are not so great role models that are there. So society is actually promoting corruption, rising materialism and everything. All these things, all role of educational institutions, family, media, everything you can include here. How they are actually promoting corruption, how they are actually promoting success, at any cost. At any cost means without even looking at the means also. That is also you can quote, and then how we are failing by not asking for demand side reforms, non-fulfillment of duties and etc. So basically you need to give a comprehensive overlook that that is how, it is not just the responsibility of politicians, our society is also failing. Important part, how many of you included this dimension? Very nice. Okay, थोड़ा proud सा feel हो रहा है मुझे इस बार. Okay, very nice. How many of you included this dimension? Very nice. So at least now you are learning how to diversify your point. The same societal attitude you are seeing in terms of promotion, indulgence, and participation. So that is how you are bifurcating their term at different level, and that is how you are writing. Understood? And there it is other factors that are contributing from social perspective. Okay? Social inequality and poverty is another aspect of that. because of poverty, many are not in a position to make officers accountable because they are simply poor. They do not have access to education. They are not aware, and because of that also, the corruption is prevailing. Understood? And then when you are talking about the suggestions, then how different ethical leaders, supporting ethical leaders, promoting transparent accountability, RTI, monitoring of traditional public funds, social audit, everything, demand side reforms through advocacy, NGO advocacy you can talk about, NGO participation, rejecting corruption at level, for example, making it an election issue, not taking bribe, then educating, raising awareness, strong institutions, talk about institutions, city, judiciary, police, family, everything. So basically fostering a culture of integrity. So here perhaps you can talk about the value inculcation part, role of family. So can you see, we are diversifying our response. Basically as citizens what we can do. That is what question is asked. So we are diversifying our response. At family level we can do that. That also you can diversify. As collectively that is what we can do. Understood? So from different perspective we are telling that this is what we can do to ensure corruption is not there, or basically minimization of corruption. So in this answer, what is more important is the diversification of the point. Okay? Because it is very generic that what you will do. Understood? Understood or not? So note kar lijiye. लिखा हुआ है ना कहीं, बिल्कुल लिख सकते हैं, कहाँ है, कहीं तो लिखा हुआ है. It is there. You go through this answer. It is there.
Can you also pure influence in work culture as promoting corruption?
Citizens, how can citizens contribute to culture of integrity and ethical behavior in politics? So citizens can participate in work culture through citizen charter, social audit. Through that you can talk about. So they are so they are talking. Yeah, they are not promoting corruption. Yes, so from social audit, RTI, citizen charter perspective, you can improve work culture of the government institutions by participating in those mechanisms. In introduction, you can start with this, that our rank is this on transparency, corruption perception index, that is there, transparent international ranking. This is our rank, and many of us, widely believe it is because of so many corruptions. The politician accountable for that because of so many corruption, like police scam and everything, Commonwealth game. But in reality, it is more a reflection of societal attitude, and then you start your answer. So these three lines will come in the beginning. Okay, I have not included introduction in this part. Okay, how many of you included at least 60% of this dimension, this and the second part? How many of you diversified your response in order to how you can, the second part actually, how you can contribute to culture of integrity and ethical behavior? Diversification of the point is there? Very nice. If you have done that, then you are on the right track only. Right track. Don't think that the points are not matching. They will never match. Your points will also not match. So that is the beauty of ethics. A lot of subjectivity is there, but broadly we should focus on diversification. G. Role of value education. Yes, part of suggestion. Definitely be part of suggestion. How many of you did not include role of value education as part of suggestion? Did not include role of family, educational institutions. आपने भी नहीं किया. क्यों? ये पाप है. क्या ये? घनघोर पाप है. मतलब आज का डिनर कैंसिल है, क्योंकि मैंने आपको बार-बार I have discussed this so many times that in ethics, psychological perspective, governance perspective and societal perspective, these three angles always be in your mind all the time. Okay, so if you are discussing corruption and you are not discussing value education, then you are not just reaching there. And the question is that also, societal attitude. Question is that only. Societal attitude toward dishonesty. It is asking you to write value education. So this, what about you? अरे वो तो पता है नहीं किया. क्यों नहीं किया आपने? अच्छा किया. किसने और नहीं किया? एक और था यहाँ पे. आपने क्यों नहीं किया? ऐसा कैसे काम चलेगा सर? See, you will get benefit only when you incorporate the suggestion in your writing. Okay, then only you will improve your answer writing. ऐसा तो बात नहीं बनेगा. अब ऑनलाइन वालों कितने लोगों ने वैल्यू इनकलकेशन इनकलकेट नहीं किया? कितने लोगों ने नहीं किया वैल्यू इनकलकेशन? होल स्कूल अप्रोच, वेरी नाइस, वेरी नाइस, वेरी वेरी नाइस, शाबाश. कितने लोगों ने नहीं किया वैल्यू इनकलकेशन इंक्लूड? सर कौन सा आंसर देखने वाले हैं, तो आंसर ही नहीं कर रहे हैं. देखो, वी कैन इजीली फॉरगिव a child who is afraid of the dark, but the real tragedy of life is when men and women who are behind the camera are afraid of the light. Okay, एक भी आंसर नहीं आया उसी, सबने लिखा है. Can you believe that? Okay, up to you. चलो अगला क्वेश्चन चलते हैं. You want to note it perhaps.
Critically analyze how we have to approach the
That is a critical analysis. That is analysis. That social attitude is very much necessary.
फिर इसको दो पार्ट में तोड़ के नहीं, पहला करप्शन पॉलिटिशियंस का प्रॉब्लम है, इसमें segregate
That part briefly you should introduce because it is focusing more on that. The proportions are very important. Definitely, I have removed that part. I have started directly from that because I wanted to emphasize that that is how you should think at different level. I have removed the first part. That is not part of the answer, but you should have that as part of your answer. Done? This part noted? हाँ जी. कौन सी केस स्टडी? हाँ लिख सकते हैं, बिल्कुल लिख सकते हैं, शाबाश, बिल्कुल लिख सकते हैं. अरे जापान की केस स्टडी लिखो ना, सोसाइटी की. हाँ जापानी सोसाइटी, हाँ स्कैंडिनेवियन कंट्रीज का आप लिख सकते हैं. वेरी गुड. मतलब यू कैन गिव पॉजिटिव केस स्टडीज अबाउट द डिफरेंट सोसाइटीज वेयर करप्शन इज लो. So that also you can give. That is a very good example. Shabash. Now you are thinking on the right lines. Now the kind of doubts that are there, they are encouraging me to think very positively. Don't have high hopes from us, sir. Singapore, yes, you can include that. Okay, shall we move to the next question? Okay, so next question is, beside domain knowledge, a public official needs innovativeness and creativity of a high order as well, while resolving ethical dilemmas. Discuss with suitable example. So basically, see how many parts of the questions are there. It is telling you, that see, to resolve ethical dilemmas, I know that domain expertise, domain knowledge is important, but besides that, you need innovation also. So answer will have broadly three parts. One part is how domain expertise will help you resolving ethical dilemma. Briefly, you will talk about that. Then you will talk about the limitation of that, because in that context, you will say that how innovation is required to solve ethical dilemma. Understood? Understood or not? So that is what it is. Introduction can be about complexity of ethical dilemmas, because in governance you are dealing with so many constraints, and that is why at times ethical dilemma can be complex and thereby requiring domain knowledge. So how domain knowledge will help you at foundation level to resolve the ethical dilemma. So when government was grappling with the dilemma between whether to impose lockdown or not, what should be our approach in terms of dealing with COVID. So it turned out, it listened to the expert, medical expert, the AIIMS director and everyone who was part of the committee. So domain expertise was necessary to actually ensure the resolution of the dilemma, that whether and how much control we should have over the people, life and their movement. So that dilemma was resolved through medical expertise. So domain knowledge was very much important in resolving that dilemma. Similarly, you talk about development versus environment. When you are doing that, then as an EIA expert, I need to see the scenarios, in terms of that how this project can go and what can be the pitfalls for that. Basically how much damage this development project can have on the environment, and who will do that? Who will actually assess that damage? Only the experts can do that. You and me, perhaps we cannot assess that damage. Perhaps the environmental engineers can do that. Okay, so that is how domain knowledge is important to resolve the ethical dilemma, that whether we should go ahead with the project or not, that will depend upon the ecological damage, whether the damage is within the reach, within the limit or not. Okay, and that knowledge will come from the professional expertise only. Okay, because that's how it will help you in understanding of complex issues. You talk about that EIA, and because of your expertise, you will be able to resolve your dilemma because you know your thing. You talk about subordinate legislation. The bureaucrat, they will always have this dilemma whether we can include these rules in this framework or not, because rules are subordinate legislation, they are delegated legislations, and ultimately they must conform to the law that has been framed by legislature. But that dilemma is resolved by their technical expertise, because they know that this stands the ground of the judicial scrutiny or legislative scrutiny or not, and that is why they will resolve that dilemma. Similarly, RTI, whether we should, the RTI, the provision is there that if the divulsion of information outweighs the public, if the public interest outweighs the Official Secret Act, then we can divulge the information. That provision is there. Now, who will take the call? That whether it is, whether the public interest is outweighing or not, who will take the call? Can you and me can take the call? We can perhaps not see the entirety of the spectrum. So that call will always demand expertise, domain knowledge. So that is how, the domain knowledge is important. In terms of evaluating various decisions. You talk about 1971 war. The Manekshaw movie that was there, that the Prime Minister wanted to wage the war at the earliest against East Pakistan, but he said that, sweetie, that it is not feasible at this point of time, because he had the domain expertise that because of the rainy season, we will be at the wrong foot only and we are not that prepared. So he resolved that dilemma by expertise, by domain expertise. Okay, understood? So basically, application of relevant rules and regulation. If someone is going to file an FIR, that under which section that offence should be booked. Asaram Bapu is not getting bail because he has been booked under POCSO, something under which the bails are very, very difficult. So that judgment, that under which law you should book the one particular crime, so that judgment comes from domain expertise only. Although I have elaborated a lot on this in actual examination, that space, it will not require a lot of space. Probably the first page of 30 to 35% it will take, 35%, because this is an important part, because in that context only you are talking about the second part. So that is how domain knowledge will help you in terms of resolution of the ethical dilemma. But then you will see that there is a limitation of domain knowledge, because situation may be such that they may have conflicting values, you may not have the precedent before, or you may not have all the facts, rationality limitation, all that we have understood, objectivity limitation, and in that light, we need innovation. Okay, now you give the example, for example, Armstrong-Payne example, that he was able to build the road by crowdfunding. So he was facing the dilemma whether or not he can go ahead with the building of road, because at one part he was facing lack of funds, that is national crunch that is there. Another part, lack of connectivity was there. So how he should go and balance that dilemma? So creativity, he involved creativity in resolving that dilemma. Okay, and that is what you can write. You can include, you can merge this and this also. Okay, that complexities of dilemma leading to requirement of innovation, or limitations of domain expertise leading to requirement of innovation. So the first point can be, fund crunch requiring innovative solution. For example, Armstrong-Payne. Similarly, going beyond established procedures. For example, we have discussed this example, in the case of Kerala, Aruna Sundararajan, who gave this project on the basis of pilot project, going beyond the established project so that they can have the benefit of efficiency. Understood? Then adapting to the changing circumstances, Juvenile Justice Act and the requirement of adult. But dilemma was there whether you can try certain juveniles as per adult or not. Because if they have indulged in heinous crime, certain crimes, then whether we should try them as per adults or we should treat them as juveniles only. So we found that solution that we should have this board who will see whether the person has achieved maturity or not. So that creativity is required, to cater to the adapting to the changing circumstances as per the demand of the society. And then balancing competing interests. You talk about DBT, efficiency versus accountability. COVID, TN session you talk about. Many people said that the EPIC, electoral photo identity card, is actually a wasteful public expenditure. But that is how he balanced the expenditure versus actually the efficiency or the effectiveness of that idea. Understood? So that is what you need to write. And all those examples basically that we have discussed in the case of dedication to public service, you can include them here, that is how, the innovation was required to solve that and that problem. The example of Ishi Dhara in terms of Chhatrapur metro station also you can give. Understood? So basically, in this question, what is most important is that you highlight this part, this part. These headings are important because these headings are telling you that you require more creativity to resolve the dilemma, and domain expertise may not alone help. You required creativity of higher order. So you can merge these two things, or you can write that paragraph and then you talk about that. That is absolutely fine. This will take 30 to 35% of the first page, and then you start your next answer. Understood? So that will be the broader answer to this question. So how many of you, I'm sure, because we have discussed this question in our discussion. So 60%, 70%, how many of you wrote close to this? Okay, very nice, very nice.
Can we start by giving the example and then the argument like that how they use innovation like this?
But then you will not be able to answer this part properly. Because if you start by example,
No, not this part.
I am telling you, I'm just giving you an example. If you start by example, let's say I started example of let's say Armstrong Payne, that were required. Then again the body part, I will need more example. I'm killing my example. I'm killing the flow of my answer. I am telling this very separately, that is what most aspirants do. They start with the example and they disturb the entire flow of the answer. Here we are flowing the answer. That first part, yes, domain expertise. Second part, limitation and how creativity is important. Okay?
And this is in a separate heading. We start with the importance of innovation. We'll write that Armstrong Payne, his contribution and that efficient utilization of resources. And the next example then writes with responsibility.
No. So in Armstrong Payne, you must talk about the dilemma that was there in terms of here generating innovative solution to fight resource crunch. That line must be there. Otherwise, how will you create the context of innovation? It will be just like dumping the example. How will examiner understand that why creativity was required to solve this problem? So that one line should be there. And you see, this is how you must write. Just one line. Generating innovative solution to fight resource crunch. Only this much line is sufficient. You need not write 3-4 lines for example, Armstrong payment crowdfunding of the road project. That is how, and this will take 3 lines perhaps to write this single point. Okay, you need not elaborate on it because that is another problem that all of you are facing, that you are writing paragraphs to communicate a single point, and that is how you will not be able to write more number of points. Here we should focus on writing more number of points. G.
So that I'm writing the example, but I'm not able to justify it with one line.
That will come with a lot of practice, but that is what you should focus on when you are writing.
For example, I'll give a paragraph to justify it.
No paragraphs are not required. If at all you want to explain, either explain argument or example. Don't explain both. If you explain both, half page is gone. Okay, you do either of that. Either you explain the example or you explain the argument. If you have to explain only, if you are not able to write both the things in a very short manner. Okay, that is what you should do.
Sir, under innovation, can we write the ethical dilemma itself, like resolving accountability versus efficiency? Example DB.
Yes, very nice. That you can do. Very nice, very nice. Yes, you can do that. Very nice, very nice.
So different example like mobile ambulance.
Mobile ambulance is a great example. Sangi Express, we have discussed that. Yes, you can use that. Very nice. G. JFM is another example. Very good example. कोई बात नहीं, as famously said, बस लिख दीजिए quotation. Does not matter. Quotation सही होना चाहिए. Sir, as mentioned earlier, facing problem, understanding question like in this, I directly started with delimitation, great idea. See, Nitish, great ideas emerge at the intersection of knowledge and intuition. Okay. See, this exact question I have discussed. So if you are having problem in understanding this question, then you need to revise better. I remember I have discussed the exact question, and that is how it has to be answered. So it should not be the problem, at least in this case. Knowledge without character, not directly applicable here actually. रीजन फॉर एथिकल डिलेमा, स्पेस ही नहीं है इन सब के लिए, तो कहाँ स्पेस है? बताओ क्या हटा के क्या लिखूं, ये बताओ. अभी पता आप कैसे सोचते हो आप लोग? सर, कैन वी इंक्लूड दिस? सो व्हेन यू आस्क मी कैन वी इंक्लूड दिस, ऑल्सो आस्क मी व्हाट वी कैन रिमूव. Okay, because the space is limited. Think from that angle, then you will prioritize the point. Okay, that perhaps I can cut down the length of this, on the length of this, and then I will include. That way, then you will have better judgment. Understood? No. In that part, corruption is a curse to society. How it breeds greed, dishonesty. That should be part of conclusion. Because see, very good doubt. So, the corruption question is, in the intro, I have included how corruption is a curse to society and how it breeds greed, dishonesty, and other immoral action. So here, you see, you look at this language. This language is talking about the consequence of corruption. You know, that how corruption can actually ruin society. And don't you think it is more of a conclusion than introduction? Can you see that? Can you see the difference between introduction and conclusion? आपको समझ में आ रहा है? Can you see the difference? So this should be part of conclusion, that society should change the attitude for conclusion because it can create so many problems. It should not be part of the introduction. Introduction should be about politicians and whatever we discussed. G. Yes, that is the example that you can write, Abhilash. Yes, you can do that. Yeah, regarding way forward, see, there are certain questions in which you will be criticizing things, you know. So there you should include way forward, and if examiner has directly asked, like in corruption, then you should include that. You can, you know, more space should be allocated to that. If you are not having time, then you can simply merge that with conclusion. You can write that as part of conclusion only. Okay, so don't stress yourself over that. So shall I discuss the next question? Please take a photo. Shouldn't the structuring here be more on resolving which ethical dilemma and how, domain knowledge and innovation? No, Ankit, because if you read the question, it is, I mean, this is a standard template that is there. See, read the question together with me. Besides domain knowledge, officials need innovation and creativity of higher order as well to solve the ethical dilemma. So basically, already he is acknowledging that there are two things that he requires, but now he wants to highlight the importance of B in the context of limitation of A. I will read the another statement for you. Just look at the question. Besides objectivity, public officials need empathy while resolving ethical dilemma. Can you see the same thing? So there also, besides, yes, we need objectivity, but besides objectivity, we need empathy. So basically, the context of limitation of objectivity we should add. Beside X, we should need Y. Understood? Because X is not sufficient. Beside good looks, we need salary also. You see, because looks are not sufficient. Okay, so basically that is the template. Beside X, we need Y also because X is not sufficient. Understood? Understood? Whosoever asked that doubt. I think Ankit understood? This is a standard template that is the standard template. UPSC has asked earlier question as well. Besides this, we need this also. Okay, very standard template. Okay. Are you able to understand this template? Besides X, Y is also necessary. Okay, so talk about X first, limitation of X, and then Y. G. We can mention that. The positive-minded bureaucrat will be, they will be more creative and more innovative. Yes, we can do that. Done? So let us move to the next question. So two different kind of attitudes are exhibited by the public. This was the easy question, we have discussed that. So many times we have discussed that. So if you have not answered that well, then danda lagna chahiye aap sabko, you know. Up to you. Two different kind of attitudes exhibited by the public servants towards their work have been identified as the bureaucratic attitude and democratic attitudes. Distinguish between these two terms and write their merits and demerits. You know, so you see, you need to write the merits of bureaucratic attitude also, because usually we have very negative connotation of bureaucratic attitude. So, what are the positive aspects of bureaucratic attitude? Very good. Efficiency, accountability, value neutrality, rationality. ऐसे छाती से गर्व से छाती ऐसे फूल गया हमारा, you know. Very nice. So you know that now the positive side of bureaucratic attitude. I'm so pleased to know that. Okay, so very good actually. Okay, and then do you know the negative side of democratic attitude? What is it? Slow decision making. Very nice. Resource Populist policy is very great.
Following letter.
हाँ? कौन सा empathy? Lack empathy. No, democratic attitude तो नहीं. Bureaucratic attitude नहीं. मैं democratic attitude की negative की बात कर रहा हूँ. Yes. So democracy we have other limitations. So basically, see, that is how, it is very much important that we very conceptually clear about these terms, because in actual exam condition, if you are not very clear, then you will not be able to write the merits and demerits. Okay, so now you know the bureaucratic and democratic attitude, and as I discussed, we should generate some basis on the basis of which we should differentiate focus, decision making, what are the core values of bureaucracy, or the communication, usually it is formal, impersonal, open, interactive, empathy, efficiency. So that's what we have already discussed. So basically on the very various aspects, we are comparing bureaucratic attitude and democratic attitude, and just look at the merits and demerits. I mean, it ensures consistency, predictability, efficiency, arbitrariness is reduced, and then it can be rigid, inflexible, may discourage innovation and creativity, red tapeism and everything, can lead to the alienation of people because of value neutrality, because of emotions are not there. See the positive aspect of democratic attitude, engagement, legitimacy, build trust, and every responsiveness is there. Then it can be slow and cumbersome, and consensus building, it may be a challenge. Understood? So the merits and demerits are directly there, they are in front of you. Now, how to balance that? The next question is that only, Yes, how to balance both of them? You tell me that. How have you divided your answer? That is more important. Very good, very good. So, people participation, use of technology. So basically, again, the diversification of points should be there. Same thing we have already discussed. How we can make efficiency and accountability go hand in hand. Similar thing only. Okay. So by decentralization, delegation of authority, we have discussed that principle of subsidiarity, that we have to judge when to delegate and when to take decision at the top level on the basis of these two principles, activity mapping and principle of subsidiarity. We have discussed that. Exact same thing we discussed that. Okay. Similarly, and so encouraging citizen participation, so citizen charter and everything, so that we become more democratic. At the same time, we become effective also in terms of what we are doing, because we are now catering to the needs of the citizens rather than implementing what we already know. Okay, then given federal mechanism also perhaps are the way work culture reforms, sensitivity training, performance management, and technological solutions and everything. So basically, that is how you look at it. You please go through it to understand. Understand? So basically, that is how we need to categorize our response. That is how bureaucratic attitude and democratic attitude can go hand in hand. We can make efficiency and accountability go hand in hand, and they are not exactly at the loggerhead with each other. We can create mechanisms, we can be creative out that, so that legal reforms also you can include legal reforms by reducing let's say discretion and something like that, by providing code of conduct, code of ethics, that also you can include. I think here it is not there, but you can include that also. No, these are the standard points that are there. You can include that everywhere, more or less everywhere. Okay, sensitivity training, performance management, transparency, accountability mechanisms, everything. Understood? So, in conclusion, you can talk about how there is need to balance both the attitudes, because then only good governance will be possible, and that's how you will talk about rule of law, transparency, responsibility. All these are the attributes of the good governance that will be there when you follow both merits of the bureaucratic attitude and democratic attitude, and try to curb the demerits of the bureaucratic attitude. Understood? So that is how we will talk about all these solutions. One line introduction you can give. Then governance, both the attitude are integral part of the bureaucracy. In a democracy, bureaucratic and democratic attitude are integral part of governance. And then you can start the answer. Attitude ka definition, because in the first part we are talking in terms of table, so not necessarily, because here it is a definition only we are talking about, so need not give. General attitude may or may not give, up to you. Okay, may or may not give. Antodaya, Sarvodaya, definitely you can talk about that. See how we can merge two things. I mean, this is a very broad answer. Always make the answer broad. Legal reform, technology, citizen engagement, participation, just always include that. Understood? If we have more technology, then we can be more efficient also. We can make people participate also. Both the things can go hand in hand. Understood? Understood or not? So that is what it is there. By having this sensitivity training, we can sensitize bureaucracy to what the need of the citizen. So basically, bureaucratic attitude, the problem of value neutrality that was there, we can make them more sensitive to the need of the people by making them, role-playing methods and sensitivity training. Performance management, by including 360-degree appraisal. We can include citizen feedback as an important element in terms of bureaucratic performance management. So they are not just fixated on closed system approach. Understood or not? Understood? Everyone, online walo, understood? Any other doubt that is there? Please note it. Yes. Yes, constitutional morality you can talk about, definitely. Definitely you can talk about constitutional morality. Code of conduct, code of ethics you can talk about, yes.
Sir, is it alright to give same example twice in the same paper?
In different questions you can give.
Do we also need to write the debater? How we will get into that?
The question is very lengthy. Question is very lengthy. Can you imagine various parts of the question? You can write one full page on this. The question is very, so when the question is lengthy, don't unnecessarily complicate it, because what is asked directly, if you are not answering that, then you will not get marks. Because see, one part is this, second part is this, and it will take a lot of space actually, and then third part is this. So, it is very lengthy. So you should not, you should curtail the domain. Understood? So I think we'll stop here. Okay. I have one surprise for you. Yes. एक slide और बची है. One question is remaining. I know before you tell that to me, we'll discuss that tomorrow. Integrity wala question. Integrity and empathy. 2 questions are remaining.
Empathy is a weakness.
2 questions are remaining. 3 or okay, please come. So she is Megha Agrawal, and she got 206 rank this year. And she messaged me that she wanted to meet me, and I requested her that whether she can spend some time and interact with you. And she was, gracious enough to acknowledge our request. And so, first of all, congratulations, Megha. I think I talked about the message that she sent me on the day of the examination. Yes, that she texted me that, sir, this success is equally yours, as it is mine. And that really meant a great deal for me, because every year that is how you get to live that success. And that is the only way you can live that success, okay? So she was very humble to message me like that, because it was I was feeling very grateful, when she texted me that thing. So now I will ask her, something, to share with you with respect to, because many of the problems that you are facing, she also faced when she was going through this examination. And we were discussing about those things. Those are very important things. And it may not be about academics only, because academics we are already doing. I think we should discuss something more, something extra academic factors that goes into this preparation, something that you would perhaps want to hear from the horse's mouth only, because you don't want to believe in me, okay? so perhaps, that is the question. So I will have certain questions, okay? So my first question to you, Megha, is, see, you please sit. No,
it's okay, sir.
It's okay. Now she's going to become an IPS officer, so she's preparing for that. Okay, so see, Megha, many of the aspirants, they have lot of self-doubts, and I remember you also telling me the same thing, that sir, mera to nahi hoga. Even when I was going through your answers and I was telling you that you are writing and you will get marks, you will be there, and still you were like, no sir, mera nahi hoga. And so how important it is to have that self-belief while you are preparing, because there will be many challenges with you. Lot of family situations might be there, pressure from family. So many challenges might be there from so many dimensions. So how exactly one can grapple with those challenges? And because that is what many of these guys are also facing. Yesterday only we started our answer writing classes, and you look at their faces, as if I've assaulted them with something. That is how their faces are. So you please speak on that.
Okay, so मैं बताती हूँ जो आंसर राइटिंग के पार्ट पे, मेरा प्रीलिम्स हमेशा निकला, बट मेंस में वही गड़बड़ कि आंसर राइटिंग, और जो सर का क्वेश्चन था सेल्फ बिलीफ, मेरे अंदर सेल्फ बिलीफ की कमी थी। मुझे लगता था आई एम गुड इन प्रीलिम्स ऑब्जेक्टिव टाइप ऑफ क्वेश्चन, बट सब्जेक्टिव में मैं अच्छा नहीं कर रही हूँ। इवन आई एम राइटिंग गुड, बट नहीं। मैं जब सर के पास गई, फर्स्ट सेट मैंने फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन दिखाया सर को, मैंने पहले इतना बोल दिया था सर आई राइट रोट बैड आंसर्स एंड ऑल, तो सर को भी लगता था मैं बेकार लिखती हूँ। बट सर ने जब मेरा आंसर देखा, सर ने बोला बहुत अच्छा है ये, तो आई वाज लाइक सीरियसली इतना अच्छा है। तो उसके बाद धीरे धीरे वो सेल्फ बिलीफ डेवलप हुआ। सर ने अभी मुझे आप लोगों से बोला कि सर्व में बिलीव नहीं करोगे जब तक मुझसे नहीं सुन लोगे, बट मैंने अपने आप में बिलीव करना तभी स्टार्ट किया जब सर ने मुझे बोला। उससे पहले मेरा 5th अटेम्प्ट में निकला है, 4 अटेम्प्ट्स में मुझे ये सेल्फ बिलीफ था ही नहीं कि मैं निकाल लूंगी, बट दिस टाइम मैंने खुद में बिलीव किया और उसके वजह से ही निकला। नॉलेज ऑब्वियसली थोड़ी एक्सपेंड हुई, बट मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट था सेल्फ बिलीफ। जब हम उस 3 घंटे में पेपर्स लिखते हैं ना, वहां पे आप, मेरे साथ क्या होता था, मेरा 1-2 आंसर्स रॉन्ग हुए, मुझे लगता था मेरे हाथ से पेपर गया, बट सर ने सिखाया कि एक आंसर लिखा, कैसा भी लिखा उसको जाने दो, और यही होता है उन 3 घंटों में आपको बस क्वेश्चन आंसर। तो ये माइंडसेट डेवलप करना, खुद में सेल्फ बिलीफ रखना, ये सबसे ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है, और बिलीव मी यही सक्सेस का रीजन भी था मेरे।
Okay, so another thing that perhaps they want to know is that at times when you are in this journey, especially in multiple attempts, when you are facing failures after failures, you are not getting success, and I think the 5th attempt you are telling. So it would have taken many years, many pressures are there and everything. Then how one can keep oneself mentally fit for that, because anxiety will always be there, and so many questions will come ultimately. Then did you do anything in terms of keeping yourself mentally healthy? Because as a mentor, that is one of the silent pandemic that I see among the aspirant community, that many of them are suffering from the mental health crisis, even though they not know it, even though they not recognize it, but silently they are suffering from it, And what is it that they can do at their level to grapple with that? I mean, to go beyond that and perhaps give their best, because you have to be in a good mental shape to give your best. So what did you do?
सर मेडिटेशन, तो मेडिटेशन इज़ इम्पॉर्टेंट, तो मेडिटेशन इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट कि आपको जब भी, मेरे को भी बहुत ज़्यादा एंग्जाइटी अटैक्स, मैं सर को हमेशा मैसेज करती थी, सर तब भी मुझे बोलते थे कि ऑब्वियसली ये तो था ही कि आप कर लोगे, बट उसको सिंक इन करना मेडिटेशन के थ्रू ही आएगा। और कभी कभी एक्सरसाइजेस भी, मतलब मैं बहुत लेजी थी, मेरा वेट गेन भी हो जाता था, बट एक्सरसाइजेस ऑल्सो हेल्प। तो ये 2 चीज़ें आपको रखनी चाहिए।
I think regarding this anxiety, I remember one incident, I think she texted me for something, and because of something I could not reply to her, and there were many days and I could not reply to her. And she texted me that, sir, aap mujhse naaraaz ho gaye ho kya? I mean, that's how sensitive she was, I mean, इनको ऐसा लगता था कि if I'm not replying to her, then maybe I'm angry with her. It may be because that I'm traveling, it may be because of so many things. So you see, I mean, when you are in that zone, so you think negative only, that if son is not replying, that perhaps he's angry with me, perhaps he thinks that, I'm not worthy of his attention, something like that, but that is never the case, and I think that is when I first called her sister, ki behan aisa nahi hai, it is never the case, and you can always message me, I will be very happy to. I was just busy, I was traveling and something like that. So, I mean, it is very important, the 2 things that she mentioned, that is meditation and physical activity, whatever you do, they are actually the most important thing. Many of us take them for granted, but we should not do it. That is what I had advised Deepika Agarwal also, She was also facing the same anxiety issue and everything, and that's what I also told her, that, just I think 20 to 25 days before the mains examination, and I was like that, you please text me on a daily basis that whether you are doing the workouts or not. It actually helps, so you should do that meditation, or because until and unless you are mentally strong, see, if you are in anxiety, you will read the question in so much hurry that you will not grapple the meaning of the question itself. You will misread the question, incorrect prelims, incorrect pad loge, so many mistakes, so many obvious mistakes you will do, and it will cost you dearly. Okay, so to give your best, it is important that you be in best physical and mental health shape. Okay, so you should focus on that. Apart from your academics, these extra academic factors are also very important. Okay. Any other question that you want her to answer?
मैं मेंस एग्जाम से पहले भी वॉशरूम में जाती थी और जंप एक्सरसाइज करती थी कि थोड़ा आप उससे एनर्जाइज हो जाते
ये
हो और
online
आपका
वाले नहीं
माइंड
सुनते।
आपका माइंड भी थोड़ा सही रहता है, तो एक्सरसाइज इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट।
Any other question that is there?
और एक बात मैं कहना चाहूँगी सी सेल्फ बिलीफ का, जैसे प्रीलिम्स मेरे को पता था कि अगर प्रीलिम्स में कैसा भी क्वेश्चन आ जाए मैं कर लूँगी, और अगर नहीं आता तो किसी को नहीं आता, हर कोई मेरी तरह प्रिपेयर कर रहा है। बट मेंस में मेरा माइंडसेट नहीं था वो ऐसा, सेल्फ बिलीफ था ही नहीं। मुझे लगता था जो हर सेकंड पर्सन मुझसे बेटर है, बट मैंने अपने आप को कभी नहीं सही वर्ड ही समझा, बट जिस टाइम मैंने समझा तो उस टाइम निकला। तो ये सेल्फ बिलीफ इस जर्नी में बहुत रखना, क्योंकि इसमें फेलियर्स हर स्टेज पे मिलते हैं, बहुत बारी मिलेंगे। आपके नॉर्मल टेस्ट में भी आपके अच्छे स्कोर्स नहीं आएंगे, टॉपर से आप में देखोगे कि आप कहीं हो ही नहीं। बट अगेन मैटर क्या करता है, आप उसको कैसे इंप्रूव करते हो और कैसे खुद को इम्प्रूव, बस खुद पे बिलीफ रख के इम्प्रूव करो, दैट्स इट।
This is most important actually. You see, because when you are writing answers, just like yesterday, when I was showing you the model answer and everything, then you were like, sir, I am very far from those answer. And that's what she also said. Same thing she said.
सर के आंसर्स देख के ऐसा लगता था कि कभी निकल ही नहीं सकता, इतना सारा कैसे लिखेंगे, याद भी नहीं रहेगा।
So same thing I texted you yesterday, on the Telegram group, that's what every topper has gone through. You don't believe me, you should believe her at least, that she's telling you the same thing. So you go through this journey, and if you are able to implement even 60% of that, if you are able to inculcate that thought process, you will be absolutely fine. I told her also the same thing, because I believe in food chain principle. So I need to tell you things in a much bigger way so that you can grapple at least few of it and then implement even fewer of that. Okay, so that is important, that you should just focus on this process of doing this consistently. And that is what also struck me, of her, that she was very consistent in what she was doing. That emotions and what you are doing, if you are not very much emotionally stable with respect to anxiety and everything, then at least you should detach both that thing. You should do it even when you are not feeling like doing it. That's what I discussed in the beginning of this class also, that it is not exactly a process that you will enjoy. It is not exactly entertainment, the process of studying and everything. But you should do it because you have to do it. It is just like that. So is there any other answer, any other questions that you want? Then we'll answer. Yes. So the question is, let me repeat the question for online student and then you answer. So the question is that what was your schedule like and how did you maintain good habits, in terms of studying?
सो गुड हैबिट्स, बिकॉज कि रिजल्ट आना है तो वो तो करना ही है, तो एक ये भी है। और शेड्यूल इज़ लाइक कि ऑप्शनल प्लस आपका जीएस और एथिक्स को भी आई यूज टू गिव 1 hour और 2 hour डेली, बिकॉज ये ऐसे में भी दिस हेल्प्स वेरी मच। तो ये शेड्यूल रहता था, ऑप्शनल एंड जीएस का हाफ हाफ। इट वुड मतलब लाइक इट डिपेंडेड ऑन माई कि मेरे को क्या इंटरेस्टिंग लग रहा है। ओके, तो जैसे आपने बोला स्विच करना, तो आई वुड टेक कि सोशियोलॉजी स्टार्टिंग में ले लिया, बिकॉज पिछले का थोड़ा रिवाइज कर लिया और मतलब उसको थोड़ा सा एक्स्ट्रा पढ़ लिया, बिकॉज वो कंटिन्यूटी में था। और जीएस फिर न्यूज़पेपर, क्योंकि ऑब्वियसली आपको न्यूज़पेपर स्टडी करना है, तो उससे आई स्विच टू जीएस ऑल्सो, कि वहाँ से ऐसा हो जाता था। और ऐसा नहीं है कि डेली यही शेड्यूल चलता था। अगर सोशियो में ज़्यादा लग रहा है कि एक टॉपिक खत्म नहीं हुआ, तो मैं सोशियो को पूरा दिन लेके फिर नेक्स्ट डे आई इंश्योर्ड कि मेरा पूरा जीएस को जाए। तो ऐसा रहता था, मतलब मैं प्रोपोर्शनल करती थी उस चीज़ को।
Like you said that your prelims was a very strong point. So what was special, like most of the aspirants feel in prelims? What were your strong points?
Practice. Like I used to solve many mocks, like 100 of mock papers. Any मतलब फ्री में मिलते हैं, ऑनलाइन ओपन मॉक होते हैं। तो उससे बिकॉज आई बिलीव इन रिवर्स लर्निंग, कि जैसे मतलब मेरे को ये रहता था रॉन्ग हो जाए तो इट वुड बी बेटर फॉर मी, बिकॉज वो ज़्यादा माइंड में आपके लॉन्ग टर्म तक स्टोर होता है कि ये रॉन्ग हुआ था, आई वोंट डू रॉन्ग अगेन। तो ये चीज़ रहती थी। तो प्रैक्टिस।
Sometimes analyzing the solution itself takes 2 hours, like if the mock test is of 2 hours. So
I don't analyze that much, no. Like you would have known something about that topic, just read it like okay, this. So don't give more than 1 point. Matlab, I used to give 1 hour only maximum.
Ma'am, in multiple attempts, usually the many peers they start giving parallel exams. Another attempt. Ma'am, what is your take on that?
So I did not give, because I worked for 2 years in Bangalore. Okay, so my only motivation to come here was UPSC. So I thought I will give my best. So till till I exhaust my exam, and then I'll go back to private sector. So that was my plan. So that is why I did not give any parallel exam.
How do you maintain consistency when your self-belief is low?
That is hard now. Like mentors like Piyush come and all family members, so they used to motivate me. And my purpose was like I told you ना, I worked for 2 years. So मेरा ये था कि वापस क्या करना है, like I'll go back to private sector. तो ठीक है, वो है ही always आपके पास, you have some option. तो जब तक मैं यहाँ पे बेस्ट नहीं दे दूँगी, मुझे I knew ना, I have not given my best for mains. So वो मुझे पुश करता रहा कि I have to give my best, I have to give my best. That was the thing.
During this particular period, after main stage of mark sheet comes out, mark sheet will be released. So how do you identify that कहाँ पे आपको ज़्यादा मेहनत करना है? Progress किस जगह पे मैंने पेपर अच्छा किया है, किस जगह पे मैंने पेपर खराब किया है?
See, like वो आपको पता चल जाता है when you write paper ना, to once you complete your syllabus, try attempting papers. Okay, try write full paper, half length test and then full length test. So you would get to know कि which area is weak for you, and then you like you can practice on that. Okay, okay.
इस period में I have references those mains copies which I have written
Mock.
the mock question. अभी उसमें मैं कैसे analyze करूँ कि
Like you have not like you have your mark sheet, no? You gave means this means you give. Okay.
right now the result I have,
Fine.
since I realized that ethics अच्छा नहीं हुआ,
हाँ, so that is the point. Now you can improve upon your ethics this time, and like optional you can take because near prelims you have to prepare for GS. Okay, so this time you can prepare for ethics, essay, and optional you can take, and GS के extra topics like governance and all that you can take. Like and nobody can tell कि कौन सा पेपर अच्छा हुआ because हर साल पेपर पैटर्न, पेपर का चेकिंग और उनका क्वेश्चंस कैसा था वो चेंज होता है. तो जिस टाइम मेरा थर्ड अटेम्प्ट में भी मेंस निकला था तो मेरा हमेशा GS2 में अच्छे स्कोर आते थे, नियर टॉपर्स, लेकिन उस टाइम पे मेरा GS2 का स्कोर सबसे कम था. तो ऐसे आप नहीं बोल सकते हो, बट वो डिपेंड करता है. तो आपको जो लगता है आपका वीक एरिया, आप उस पर इंप्रूव कर सकते हो अभी फिलहाल के लिए तो. और ऑप्शनल को ऑब्वियसली आप रखो ताकि जब वो 3 महीने आते हैं, क्योंकि उसमें बहुत रोलर कोस्टर होता है कि आपको हर दिन ऐसा लगेगा कि न्यूज़पेपर यू हैव टू रीड दिस. तो अभी ऑप्शनल स्ट्रॉन्ग हो जाएगा बिकॉज दैट मोर ऑफ उसमें 60% तो स्टैटिक रहता है ना, तो वो आप उसको वजह स्ट्रॉन्ग कर सकते हो. एनीथिंग
मेंस के जस्ट मार्क का इनर्शिया को कैसे आप हैंडल?
वो तो मेरा वीक पॉइंट है, और मतलब वो तो रहता था मेरा वीक पॉइंट. आई कैन नॉट कमेंट ऑन दैट. मेरे को टाइम लगता था लाइक जब तक रिजल्ट आता था धीरे धीरे, बट न्यूज़पेपर एंड ऑल आई यूज्ड टू रीड.
One question is that how to do the GF notes consolidation?
GS note consolidation this time like online notes I made, तो उसी से मेरी हेल्प हुई है. नहीं तो ऑलवेज प्रीवियस अटेम्प्ट्स में बहुत सारे पेपर्स होते थे. लास्ट टाइम पे इतना ज़्यादा हॉच पॉच होता था तो मुझे नहीं पता था मैं क्या पढूं, बट इस ऑनलाइन नोट्स इस दिस टाइम हेल्प मी.
Look at this, how to come back on track when we have lost that track and energy for the next attempt. Basically, how to bounce back.
Simply your purpose for the exam, और क्या कमी है, योर वीकनेस, यहाँ पे इम्प्रूव कर सकते हो. लाइक यू शुड थिंक कि मैं इस जर्नी में आया हूँ या आई हूँ और मेरे को बेस्ट देना है. जब तक मुझे नहीं लगता कि खुद से जब तक डिफीट नहीं फील होना, डोंट गिव अप. और उससे आपको एनर्जी मिलेगी. आपको लगता है कि ये वीक है, मैं कैसे नहीं कर सकती, हर कोई कर रहा है. आप देखते हो उसमें डाइवर्स बैकग्राउंड के लोग आते हैं. कोई ऐसा नहीं है कि इंजीनियरिंग से है, कोई भी मल्टीपल डाइवर्स बैकग्राउंड से. तो आपको अपना बेस्ट देना है. डोंट थिंक अबाउट सोसाइटी की ठीक है मैं अभी तक मेरा बैकग्राउंड क्या था, मैं नहीं कर पाई. बट इसमें हो सकता है बस अपनी तरफ से जब आपको लगे कि आपने बेस्ट दे दिया है, उसके बाद भी होता है कहीं कहीं लक फैक्टर भी होता है, बट वो एक बहुत बियॉन्ड है. बट अपने आप बेस्ट आपको करना ही चाहिए. So they are solely preparing. How many questions answer should I write every day? It depends on you. मतलब जितना ज़्यादा लिखोगे उतना ज़्यादा अच्छा है. Practice तो makes a man perfect, वही वाली बात है. मैम were you working all the 5 attempts? 5 attempts में मैंने parallelly वर्क किया था, फ्रीलांसिंग की थी, तो बट फुल टाइम वर्क नहीं किया था. 3 days मैंने हाँ, इस ये क्वेश्चन है कि बहुत ज़्यादा टाइम, देयर आर मैनी डेज जब हमें बुक को ओपन करने का मन नहीं करता, बट वी फील गिल्टी ऑफ नॉट रीडिंग एंड वेस्टिंग दैट डे. तो हाउ टू ओवरकम दैट. ठीक है, हो गया, बट उसके नेक्स्ट डे उसी गिल्ट को यूज़ करके आपको और ज़्यादा यूज़ करना चाहिए कि मतलब ये सोचो कि आपका जो नेक्स्ट बंदा है वो भी पढ़ रहा होगा, तो आपको उसी गिल्ट को, अगर हो गया ठीक है, एक दिन वेस्ट हो गया ठीक है, वी आर ह्यूमंस, बट उसको उसी ट्रैक में मत आप लॉस हो जाओ कि अब हो गया. उसको यूज़ करके आपको फिर से एनर्जी कम बैक करो और फिर से उसको और मोटिवेट होके प्रैक्टिस करो. व्हाट वाज योर हैक फॉर प्रीलिम्स? अगेन प्रैक्टिस एज मैनी मॉक्स, एज मैनी क्वेश्चंस यू कैन.
Then will you go for improvement, like to IAS?
हाँ, आई हैव गिवन मेंस दिस ईयर. थैंक यू.
And another thing that was peculiar of her was that the thing that she spoke, that she wanted to improve on the answers. You know, she was not fixated on result in a way that, you know, so that is another thing that is very much important. That, you know, again and again she's telling you that she felt like that she's not giving her best, you know. So that is the most important. You know, ultimately your conscience tell you that what you are doing and not doing. So if you are accountable for that, if you are able to give your best, then I'm very sure that you will do great only, because if you are having that continuous examination of your attempt, then it will help you in the long run. Okay, so that is what you should do. So I think that should be all for today. We'll discuss the remaining 2 questions, okay, tomorrow, and see you tomorrow at 5:30. You have to come at 4:30, okay, 4:30, 5:30 test in the different hall, okay. Bye bye, take care, good night.